So if you're into tools and you haven't been checking out any of the Japanese tool manufacturers and what they offer, I think you've really been missing out. I know I was missing out on some of these fantastic options, mainly because I look for USA made when I can. Otherwise, I look towards Tecton because they're just an affordable price point with a great warranty for here in the garage. Unfortunately, a lot of these U.S. companies are going towards overseas manufacturing, and that's not necessarily bad as long as the quality's still there. But Japan really has some fantastic tools, and the quality is just as good as a lot of the U.S. offerings. And up until recently, I didn't have any Japanese tools. I maybe used some Craftsman stuff that was made in Japan at one point, but I didn't have any like actual branded Japanese tools. So the first one I picked up was a set of Vampliers. These are the smooth jaw precision long nose pliers with the ESD grips. These are meant for electronics, and they're kind of like an oversized pair of tweezers almost, but I use these for metalsmithing and other metalworking tasks. I didn't want to make marks in softer metals, so that's why I got these smooth jaws. But these are really well made, grips are very comfortable, and the tips come together really, really nicely, so there's no gap or anything. And actually, I don't know if you've seen the snap-on pliers that can pick up a nickel by its edge, but these will do it too if you have a nickel that's new enough to not have the edge worn off. So pretty cool, and definitely worth picking up. The other set of pliers I've purchased were the round nose pliers from Engineer, and again, these are more specialty, but I use these for bending copper wire and things like that. No serrations inside of these either. Tips come together just fine, and been very happy with these. Now, these actually replaced a set of Wihas that I've had for a little bit. They're a little bit smaller, but for me that doesn't really matter. The thing with the Wihas was in the descriptions, it was not clear that these had serrations on the inside, and I guess that's partially my fault because I probably should have looked into that in some other places before buying them, but they are serrated and have some teeth, so they were marking up some of the wire and things I was bending where I didn't want it to be marked. So, but quality-wise, I think these are very much on par with each other. The Engineers were a little bit cheaper, but they are a little bit smaller. I think price-wise, though, the Engineers are probably a little bit better value because it's not an insignificant price difference. I mean, it was several dollars at around $20 to $25 for the Wihas, and I think 16 or so for the Engineers. So there's quite a bit of savings there by going with these if the smaller set suits what you're doing. The other thing to note is that Vampire tools, or Vampliers, depending on how you know them, and Engineer are actually the same company. Vampire is the US branded version of Engineer tools. Now, Vampire does not offer every single tool that Engineer does. So there are some models you can only find in Engineer branding, but the good news is Engineer is starting to show up more and more on Amazon and some other places in the US, so you can save those high shipping costs you used to have to pay to get Japanese tools here. And actually, if you look on the back of the set here, you can actually see it's got Engineer right in the grip there. And Engineer makes an identical version of these, obviously, and the grips are actually black on those as well. It just doesn't have the Engineer or Vampire screen printing or logo up here at the pivot. Now, Engineer makes obviously everything that Vampire makes. So Vampire gets its name from the bolt removing or screw extracting pliers they have with the teeth in the end. There's some big teeth to get a grip and to round it off bolts. That's where the Vampire name comes from. Engineer makes those as well, and they actually have theirs branded as themed after dinosaurs, which is kind of funny. But their screw removal pliers are like Niji or Nigisaurus, which is screw dinosaur, basically in Japanese, which is kind of cool. And they have a little sleeve that goes over the jaws that makes it look like a dinosaur head. So it's still a quality tool. I don't have a set here, but good quality tool that has kind of a fun side to it, if you will, I guess. But yeah, so Engineers definitely want to check out. Vampire if you're in the States and want that branding. Find the Engineers were a little bit cheaper than the Vampires, but I bought these when they were doing a holiday sale. So just whichever one you can get cheaper if the color of the grips don't matter. Engineers usually green grips. They've got some other colors. Vampires pretty much black or red depending on the model. But a bunch of great things from them, and I will probably be adding more to my set of tools. The other thing I just recently got was this ratcheting driver from Vessel. Now Vessel you may have started hearing about. They've become more popular here recently than they used to be, to the point where I think right now Cornwell Tools has in their catalog a set of Vessel screwdrivers that has like a limited edition iridescent handle. They actually look really, really nice. I just, unfortunately, where I work, Cornwell never comes in for any of our mechanics, so I don't ever see them. But definitely a cool set of screwdrivers if you're into colored handles and limited editions. But this is just their standard ratcheting driver that takes 1/4 inch bits. I got this version that did come with their bits just because I wanted to check them out, but it will take any standard 1/4 inch bit. The bits seem like they're high quality though, so if you want to get a nice set with the little holder for a couple extra dollars, definitely don't be afraid to do that, because yeah, they're pretty high quality bits so far. And they got a little kind of a funky design to them. They got a little ball in the center there. I'm not sure if there's a purpose behind that. I haven't looked that far into it, but they do fit in here very nice. This driver has a magnetic base in this, and the big draw to me for this ball grip version, because they have this in a few different handles, is the fact that this ball actually comes off and becomes your stubby ratchet driver. So you've got kind of two tools in one with this one, where you don't get that with a lot of the other brands. Or you have to use just a regular extension, which is fine if you want to do that. But this has this plastic overmolding with a rubber grip, which makes it a lot nicer to use. In your hand, you just got somewhere to grab it and hold it. And of course, this yellow ring here is what actually unlocks, or reverses direction, and that stays with the ball end, so you get that in the stubby as well. And then of course you can put a 1/4 inch bit right in the end of this stubby ratchet. This side does not have a magnet. There's actually a little wire like keeper ring inside of there that holds the bits in. This was a little snug when I first got it, but after putting a bit in and out a few times, it did start to loosen up, so it is not as hard to get the bits out. But super happy with this, and I will definitely be looking towards Vessel in the future for any screwdrivers that I may need, or nut drivers. They have a pretty solid line of basically hand drivers. They got some electric versions, there's some impact versions, so there's quite a bit that they offer. They just don't offer a huge array of other types of tools at this point. It's pretty much limited to drivers, some little smaller ratcheting drivers and things like that, but definitely worth checking them out. And they have become a lot more popular and are very easy to find here in the United States. Some of the other brands I want to look into more are the Lobster brand, or Lobtex. They make a lot of a full line of tools basically, but one of the things that is interesting to me is their line of adjustable wrenches. They have some really cool looking adjustable wrenches. I'll throw one up on the screen for you. And they have thin jaws but they still offer a small handle with wide jaws, if that makes sense. So the jaws are thin themselves, and then they open pretty wide, but they have like a short handle to be more of like a pocket style wrench, which I think is pretty cool. There's a lot of times where a traditional adjustable wrench may be too large, but that's all you got handy. So especially like, for example, this table that I'm sitting at here, the feet on it have those thin washers or thin nuts to hang on to while you tighten the other one and get the height of the legs adjusted. Or if you're working on like bikes where you got a lot of thin flat faces that you need to get a wrench on, it would be a tool that would be perfect for those sorts of things without paying a premium to like a bicycle tool company. It seems like that style wrench is just popular in Japan and maybe even normal. I don't know. I haven't been there myself, but a lot of the brands make them in that same style. So that's definitely something I'm going to look into for the future. I'll put links to all this in the description below for you to check out, and maybe some of the other brands I've talked about as well are tools. But definitely don't sleep on these. There's a lot of cool stuff out there that may fit even a specific purpose that you are looking for a tool stateside for. You maybe can't find that like perfect tool. Take a look, because they may have something that's kind of normal in Japan that we don't see that often that may work out for just what you're looking for. So check them out. I will be getting some more in the future as well.